All right, we're getting weird. It's Bid Nerds. It's live. The market is crazy. We're seeing weird results. We were supposed to have Nathan Merz on, but we're having some technical issues because the internet's being weird. Let's get to it. This is Bid Nerds. The bidding starts now. Bid Nerds is your YouTube card game show. Yes, it is. Welcome to Bid Nerds, everybody. Thanks for hanging out, waiting for us to get started. Nathan Merz from Columbia Valley Cars was supposed to join us. Luxury cars. You probably know him from PCA. He's always doing their videos, but we're going to have to get him on another week. They had a big storm up there in the Northwest, and the internet just sucks up there. So if you're one of our Northwest fans, we apologize that you're probably having a hard time watching us. But hey, this is Bid Nerds. We are going to get to it. My name is John Polnik. We are coming to you live from the Container Park in downtown Las Vegas, along with my partner, Michael Deeb, over there in San Francisco. What's up, Michael Deeb?
What's up, JP? So I actually live in Marin, which is total hippie dippy. And for all the hippies out there in the nerd herd, Mercury has gone retrograde, and that usually means electronics are on the fritz, if you believe or subscribe to that nonsense. So since Mercury just went retrograde, and this is our first show since that went haywire, I'm not the least bit surprised that we're having electronic technical difficulties. But on the eve of Thanksgiving, when everybody's got a million other things to do, we welcome everyone in the herd for, first of all, hanging out with us and being patient, but just for being here. I am eternally grateful that JP and I are still doing the show after 4 years. And the reason why we are still doing it is because of this live format and all of you guys in the comments, all of the engagement, all of your participation, honestly, all of your loyalty and commitment to watching the show absolutely blows us away. John and I are very grateful. So thank you to everybody in the herd from all over the country and all over the world. We effing love you guys.
That is the truth. All right, let's get to it. The market is weird, man. Things are getting weird out there. I don't, look, everybody asks us our opinions on what we think is happening on this car, that car, the other car. And it seems like from 1 week, not even 1 week to the other, it's like one day to the next. Results are all over the place. We made predictions on the last episode, and we're going to get to it. Let's look at some of those predictions that we made and see if we were right or wrong, or if the results were just plain old weird. What was the first car on the list, Michael Deeb?
All right, JP, we just about outkicked our coverage on the last episode. Our Halo car that we are going to circle back to is a 1959 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Roadster with a 5-speed manual swap that was running as a premium listing on Bring a Trailer out of San Carlos, California. This particular car, JP, is an American car out of 1,800 Roadsters built during a 6-year period. This is one of 211 examples built in 1959. The big news here, JP, is that this car was restored quite a while ago, I think in Germany, and then brought back to the United States. But along the way, it got upgraded to a Getrag 5-speed manual transmission. That's something that you would find in a Porsche or a Mercedes from like the 80s, I think. And anyway, super cool car. The car does not have reg wheels, but it does have the factory hardtop, and it does have the Becker radio. I did not appear to have the factory luggage, so no reg wheels, no luggage. So 2 of the 4 kind of collector items are on this car. JP, as a driver quality car with the 5-speed and lacking the real, sort of crazy designer options that would bring, hundreds of thousands of dollars to value. Classic.com says it's a $1.4 million conversation to have a 300 SL Roadster. I thought this car would bring about 150 less than that. So my bid was $1,250,000. You took the over and went to $1,300,300. And JP, you were actually right on the money. Our car hammered for $1,355,000, where it's sold on 43 bids. So JP, there are a million experts on the gull wings and the Roadsters from this era. Most of the times these cars transact through a live auction, these experts get involved. So it's very interesting to see a car like this come to Bring a Trailer. I remember when you and I first started doing the show in 2020, like at the very end of 2020, the first car that I remember seeing bring $1 million on BAT was a car just like this. It was a 300 SL Roadster. And I was stunned that somebody could get $1 million on an online auction for a collector car. But the thing here, this car basically brought the average, according to classic.com, and I didn't think it would. But so to me, JP, this was very well sold. And I still think it was well bought. If you're looking for a driver quality car that has been, just slightly enhanced to have a lot of fun with, for the guy who can afford to buy this and drive it, I think that's a marriage made in heaven. It's also probably well bought too. JP, what do you unpack from this result?
The person that's going to drive this car is a hero in my book. And I do believe that's why this car sold. And did it sell? Is it well bought? I don't know. Like you said on the last episode, if this thing were more original, I think it would have brought a lot more money. I think people are pretty optimistic out there right now, and they're looking for places to hedge bets. There are a lot of people worried about inflation coming, even though people are relatively optimistic about the economy. I think some people are going, well, now's the time. I have a bunch of extra cash. Let's go ahead and hide it in a car like this. And, who's our guest that comes on every now and then? He says, hey, why not just drive your investment instead of just having your money sitting in the bank? I love this car. If I were the kind of baller that could afford a multi-million-dollar car, this is definitely one that would be high on the list, especially one that you could go ahead and drive. What do you guys think of the results of this beautiful, not Gullwing, but 300 SL convertible? Is this the kind of roadster that you would drive? Okay, is there a convertible, or
that's it? The convertible is called a roadster, but that's the technical term.
The technical term for this car is roadster. But let's be honest, it's just a convertible.
Nerds.
We are nerds. It's true. The thing is that, it's like with a Porsche, with a 356, there's a Cabriolet, and there's a Roadster, and then there's a Speedster. They're all convertibles. Yeah. There's so many different versions. So I wasn't sure if I wasn't quite nerd enough, and that there was a convertible as well. So thanks for figuring that out for me.
I have a twin grill roadster online too.
All right. So Nathan couldn't join us on the show, but he is in the chat. So everybody say hello to Nathan and thank him for trying. We'll get him back on. We'll get him actually on the show sometime very soon when the internet is fixed.
When Mercury goes to
Northwest. Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Let's move on. What's the next car on the list? What do we got?
JP, we are going to check in on our 2011 BMW 328i sportswagon on Doug DeMuro's Cars and Bid site. John, our car has got just 31,000 miles on a clean Pennsylvania title, and it's rear-wheel drive. Come on in. I'm just doing a show here. I think my daughter's knocking on the door, so forgive the intrusion. But anyway, very cool car. 6-speed manual, JP. Rear wheel drive, not an all wheel drive. It's not an iX. It said in the listing that the car had the BMW Sport package, but John and I basically agreed on air that we don't see the options that car would have included, which would have been a more aggressive aero package on the front valance and the rear. It would have had a different wheel, and it definitely would have had different seats. So I think the car was misrepresented. However, it's white, manual, rear-wheel drive, and low miles. I still thought the car would do well. So, JP, according to Classic.com, the average selling price for a 328i wagon, coupe, stick and automatic, getting molded into one number, is just $14,800. I thought this car had a chance to bring $25,500. John took the under at $21,328. And much to our surprise, the car did really well on Cars and Bids. John, the hammer was $24,200 where it sold on 27 bids. I'm only surprised. I do think it's on the right site, being Doug DeMuro's site. It's such a weird thing when we're looking at the car and it's at like 12 grand. You know what I mean? And then you're like, is it going to really double on the last day on Cars and Bids? That just doesn't happen very often, but it did here. And I think it's an outstanding result. I think it's the right number for that car. I'm just a little surprised that Cars and Bids got it, but damn, man, tip your hat. All the money, well done, Doug DeMuro. My God, what do you think, JP? Weird market?
On the last episode, talk about weird. This car is so weird on a weird platform and with just a crazy weird result. I talked about on the last episode that, you know, a lot of us kind of subscribe to this idea that if you're going to have a daily driver, it should be interesting, but don't spend too much money on your daily driver. Like if you're going to get an SUV, spend the minimum amount of money that you're going to spend. If you're only going to do 2 cars, which is what a lot of people have to do, right? The 2-car solution. You get that daily truckster, you get something that's reliable, that'll get you around. Maybe you find something with a manual like this, and so it'll actually be kind of fun to drive when you have to do those daily tasks. But you don't want to put too much money into it because you'd rather save that extra every penny that you put into the daily driver's money that you can't put into the one sports car that you might have. So like I made the big mistake. I have a Macan GTS. I spent way too much money on it. And when I saw this car, I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have got something like this because it's got 3 pedals and it's probably more reliable and, you know, it's probably going to hold its value longer and more interesting and all the things, right? And it has all the room, but you know, if it were $10,000 or $15,000, that would make sense. But now you're at the $25,000 mark. You can get a Macan for that. In fact, our buddy Lee Patet, the guy that shot the photo over my shoulder here, one of the best photographers we know. He's the only guy I'll say is better than me. Look, you know, he just got a Macan. He traded in his Boxster and spent way too much money on a Macan. I mean, he didn't get. He did just fine. He bought it for a decent price, but it was more than this. But the Delta wasn't that much. It was only a few grand, you know? So if he could have saved himself $10,000 and put that extra 10 grand towards the 911 that he wants to get as well, that would make sense. But 25 grand for an old BMW, as interesting as this one is, I just don't see it, guys. I think that's a waste of money. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. What's your theory? If you're gonna get 2 cars, the 2-car solutions, we're hearkening back to our friends over at the DWA. They love to talk about the 2-car solution, awesome. 3-car solution. If you got to do 2 cars and one of them's going to be a daily, do you split your budget evenly, 1 for 1, or do you put as little money in the daily as possible and as much in the sports car, or do you go the other way? What do you think, Deeb?
1/3, 2/3. So daily driver is 1/3 of the value of your collection, and then 2/3 of the collection can go towards your toy, because the enjoyment of driving is a priority to me. Now, if I'm in real estate or I have to take people around and showing up to an appointment and being seen in something a bit more, I don't know, savoir faire, then my values would change. But for now, I can always figure out a cool daily driver, but I want to spoil myself with big money on a toy. I want a really fun, fast toy.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got $100,000, I don't know if I subscribe to your 1/3, 2/3, because that's like 25 grand on your daily and 75 on your sports car. You could do pretty well on a $10,000 daily and 90 on it. You could do a lot better with 90 than 75. That $15,000 delta there. All right, what do you guys think? Let us know. Let's move on. We've got more cars to cover.
All right, JP. We also looked at a 1990 Chrysler TC by Maserati with a 5-speed manual and just 35,000 miles from new. The car ran as an alumni listing, no reserve, on Bring a Trailer out of West Winfield, New York. John, last year in June, the car sold on Bring a Trailer for $12,000 and hasn't put any new miles on it. The car is in excellent condition for what it is. And JP, you were telling us that this little turbocharged 2.2 actually puts out a few horsepower and a little bit of torque. So this car can get out of its own way. Didn't you say it was like 220 horsepower or something crazy like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this car has, so it's not inept. But John, we wondered if this car would bring the $12,000 that the guy spent on it last year. So 15 months later, he comes back to market with no changes and just some fresh assets. JP, I was a little bit pessimistic. I thought the car would bring 10. You actually thought he would get his money back to the dollar. $12,000 was your bid. According to Classic.com, the average sale price for these is just $7,600. By the way, our car hammered for $9,500 where it sold on 24 bids. So JP, it's a little under what you and I thought. I'm not really surprised by that result. I don't think that's a weird result or a weird market. I just think he really sold that car at the wrong time of the year. This car, if he could have put it away until May or June of next year, I think he would get, especially if things continue to roll with the economy and the markets, he could be looking at $15,000, $16,000 for that car. I just think he sold it too soon. He's selling it the week of Thanksgiving. I think that was the error, not the car. What do you think?
I don't think any of that matters. I used to think stuff like that matters, but it just doesn't anymore. Because $10,000 for this car, that's a lot of money. This car should only be worth $2,000 or $3,000. There's no such thing as a $2,000 or $3,000 car anymore, though. So no, I mean, if he waited for the best possible window, maybe this car brings another couple of $1,000, but that's it. These just aren't worth anything. Yeah. The only value of these cars is to drive them ironically. I said that on the last episode. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that the only value of these cars is to ironically drive one. I'm saying is to drive it ironically, meaning you drive it specifically to be ironic, right? You know that it's a bad car. You know that it's not a good sports car, but it's just fun, right? It's like one of those T-shirts with an 80s ad on or something like that. Yeah, it's just it's a goof, or you're driving it like our friend who bought my LeBron, he drives his around to meetings and stuff like that. And people are like, hey, that's kind of interesting. At least it's way more interesting than any normie car you could possibly have. This is the kind of car that fits that ratio that we were just talking about, the 10%. If you've got $100,000 and you got to buy a daily driver and you got to buy a sports car, this would be a great daily driver if you didn't need to carry around a bunch of stuff or whatever, because you could get one for $10,000, $12,000 and you could spend that $90,000 on a real sports car. I don't understand spending money on SUVs. SUVs depreciate horribly. They just do. So if you're going to get a sports car, you get yourself your air-cooled car or your classic or whatever. That's basically money in the bank. But the money on your minivan or something like that, that's just going to spiral down. You were going to say something before I cut you off on the last call. No. What were you going to say? No?
No, nothing.
Nothing to add on the ratio. Okay.
Nothing to add.
What else we got here? What do you guys think? Was that result weird or is that right on the money? Let's get to the next car. What do we got?
All right, JP, the last car that we're going to track back to is the 1989 Volkswagen
This one's
Jetta.
So weird.
Jetta Coupe that has been treated to a very extravagant 1.8T swap from a much more contemporary Volkswagen product. The car also brought the 5-speed manual with it, extensive modifications to the suspension, and it's got some really cool wheels and tires. It gets weird when you look to the interior because JP aptly pointed out that is not a Volkswagen or Jetta interior at all. And in fact, none of us can even recognize what the interior could possibly be made of. I guess that it was some marine guy that does boat interiors, did the interior for this guy. Maybe this car was a fire damage car or something. And I'm guessing it. We don't know that for sure. The car's inspected. It was running no reserve on cars and bids. True mileage unknown on a clean Utah title. But the big thing here, JP, was what would the modifications bring to a car that no longer maintains its originality on the interior of all places? So with that in mind, JP, Classic.com says that a Jetta Coupe is about a $13,000 car. I thought the car would bring $8,800. John took the over at $9,000 and it hammered for $10,600 where it sold on 39 bids, JP. They were fighting over this thing, which is crazy to me. I pray that somebody ditches that interior and puts a stock Volkswagen interior in there. And then I think you might be onto something. If that car looks all original on the inside, and it doesn't have to be original, it just has to be period correct from Volkswagen. John, what's the upside? You guys spend $2,500 doing the interior. Is that a $16,000 car, an $18,000 car, a $20,000 car? It could be money well invested. I hope that's what happens. But even if he just beats the snot out of it for $10,600, I don't actually think he overpaid because I imagine the performance of that car is pretty awesome. He's not going to get anything more for it unless he invests in it. But if he just wants to go beat on it, why not? Have at it. 10 grand? Who cares?
There's absolutely no reason to upgrade the interior in this thing unless you want to and have one laying around. This car isn't an investment. It's not original. We've seen Mark II Volkswagens do really well. We've seen specifically with GTIs, but Jettas Scirocco's, Cabrios, Corrados, none of those really do well. It seems like Mark II GTRs are the only water pumper Volkswagens that are bringing any kind of money. So this car looks like a great way to get into a really fun ripper. These things are an absolute blast with a torque steer, with this 1.8 engine in it, with the turbo and the lightweight, because it doesn't have all the modern extra heavy, sound insulation and all that kind of stuff. This car would be an absolute blast to rip around any circle. It's just, you just don't want to pay too much money to do it. And I think that's why people were battling for it, because what do you get these days for $10,000, $15,000? You wind up getting something like that Chrysler LeBaron TC or whatever. That car might be kind of neat that you can, and have fun and, with the top down and the ironic thing like I was talking about, but it's certainly not a sports car. You're not getting around any tracks anytime quickly. And it's probably going to break all the time. This car actually looks kind of fun. It has some cool period floss, and you can rip up a hill, great for hill climb, stuff like that. What do you guys think of this little Jetta? Do you think it was well bought? It's definitely weird. The theme was definitely weird from the last week. Let's move on. That was all the cars that we talked about on the last episode. Yeah. Let's do commercial, and let's make some predictions on new cars on our list and see how weird it's going to get over there. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden. This guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. Hey guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair. All right, we are back. Happy Thanksgiving. That's tomorrow from the time we are filming this live. Thanks for hanging out with us. We were supposed to have Nathan Merz on the show, but we had technical difficulties. We're going to get him back on another episode soon. So thanks again for Nathan for trying it out. Okay, look, it's time to make predictions. The market is weird. We're going into a holiday. My partner seems to think that the holiday will affect the value and the ultimate bids on cars. I don't think any of the auctions are open tomorrow. I don't think there are any live bids on VAT. But they're all back on Friday. Black Friday, people are going to be at their computer. They're looking for deals. They're buying stuff. I think if anything, it's going to help bids. I think there's going to be so many people looking at their screen and they're in that buying mode. They got their credit cards out. They're ready to go. They're going to buy some pants. They're going to buy a computer. They're going to buy all the things that they're being marketed. I mean, when you go on Instagram
and
right now,
miss the close of auction.
Yeah, and miss the close. Yeah, they're going to be. It's a good thing you get alerts. So make sure you ask for those alerts. And speaking of alerts, make sure you hit the thumbs up and subscribe and the alert button for Bid Nerds. Get in there, guys.
I think my buddy's on tryptophan, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's tough, JP, and we could debate this all night, but yeah, it is an interesting one that we maybe can never quantify unless we truly look at the results versus, interesting comps. But I just feel like everybody's so distracted tomorrow. I mean, it'd be cool to think everybody's got nothing else to do but sit in front of close the door to their office and shop for cars all day. And of course, if you're really, really interested in something like our opening car, which is a rare model with paint to sample, yada yada yada. Maybe no matter what you're doing, the car closes at say 1 o'clock or something. You set a timer at 12:30. You go and get in a quiet place and you participate because it's really important that you don't miss. I suppose the cream rises to the top, but I just think in general, JP, I don't want to mess with. I don't want to compete with anything. I want my car to be there when nobody else has anything else to do. That's why I think Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday closes are the answer versus say a weekend close during football season when the big game from dad's alma mater's on. He's not looking at your Boxster that you're trying to sell on Doug DeMuro's site, that kind of thing. So JP, without further ado.
Well, hold on. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, make your comment. Go ahead. Before we get to the car, go ahead.
You said that the market was weird. We had some weird results. The thing I noticed when we were shopping for the cars this week, not so much on Cars and Bids or P-Car Market, but at the moment, in my opinion, BAT has a ton of really good, really interesting cars. I spent a long time searching the market, and I'm just curious to know if the herd agrees with me that at the moment, and I think it's in the basque of the election, JP, a litany of really cool cars have come to market, the likes of which I haven't seen in a couple of summers. And so I just feel like right now, if you're shopping, there are some cool cars out there. So, which is surprising to me as we enter into the holiday season. I would think that it would be crickets, and to me, it's the total opposite. There are amazing cars out there right now. What do you think?
It's too bad Nathan's not on the show. Like, we were trying to get him on, but he's in the Nerd Herd. Everybody introduce yourself to Nathan in the Nerd Herd. He's on the live chat. If he were here, he would agree with me. He says everyone's gonna be on BAT watching these auctions, so it would be good to have 2 against 1. Nathan, I really do wish you were here. Okay, so before we get to the first car on the list that we're going to make a prediction on, people have been asking about merch and stuff, and we just haven't gotten our ish together, but we do have Bid Nerds hats. We do have one-of-a-kind Bid Nerds t-shirts. The way you can get one is go to @BidNerds on Instagram and DM me. And if you want to order one, they're going to be $29 plus shipping or something like that. Each one is they're actually, we're actually printing these things one at a time. Yeah. So, we're going to have those. I'm going to try to get that up by Friday. Yeah. The
incredible staff at Guys Customs is taking time out of their busy Christmas cycle to help the Bid Nerds sell a couple of hats and shirts. But they are literally done by hand. On the Las Vegas Strip, and not at like a little kiosk, way up in a tower. It's really cool stuff.
Made in America, guys. All right, let's get to some predictions. What's the first car on our list? What do we got?
All right, JP, this is almost painful to introduce, but Dave Merz was coming on the show because he is currently representing this. Nathan, but Freudian slip, and he'll understand that. Please forgive me. Nathan is representing this incredible paint to sample 1997 Porsche 911 Carrera 2S with a 6-speed manual. The car is listed out of Reno, Nevada, showing 69,000 miles from new. So JP, I had actually looked at this car prior to it coming on the show with Nathan, and a couple things struck me. First of all, the paint to sample is stunning. Ocean Jade is a very, very rare shade. So this is, if you're looking for a car that gets attention, you'd be hard-pressed to find a more head-turning, air-cooled Porsche than this. And with the wide body and the wheels painted that color, somehow, JP, every time I look at this car, and I know the wing is not there, I look at it and I almost think turbo first. It's really a very pretty car. And my wife likes it too. I also thought that the build was interesting in that they went out of their way to do all this aluminum and the sportback seats, the painted wheels, which are not on the build sheet. I think they might have been done afterwards. I would love if Nathan could have helped us break down some of those things. But not a lot of performance. It doesn't have like, for instance, it has the motor sound package, but it was added after, along with a bunch of other modifications like Pfister exhaust, Bilstein coilovers, some Turbo S Peats on the front bumper, and then they painted the calipers and the seat belts and added the Porsche Classic communication system. Really neat thing. And then the wheels are technology wheels, but it doesn't have limited slip or the automatic brake differential. It doesn't have like a short shift. And it didn't come from the factory with the motor sound. And so I'm surprised that somebody spent all this money on the car, but it was more for show than go. That being said, JP, when we look at this being, the rare end of the air-cooled era, and it's paint to sample, and it's fair miles, and it does have the sports seats, and all the modifications, for God's sake, they're the best of the best, is so tastefully done, I do think it will sort of enhance the value. We have to consider for a moment that there is a minor accident on the Carfax. I tend to think that a car this rare, done to such a high standard and always being a valuable car, one would assume that it was done by a reputable shop, and it probably isn't going to interrupt the value of the car too much. But, for the most scrutiny, antagonizing collectors out there, they will consider that and when they make their bid. So very interesting car, lots of tasteful upgrades. Stunning colorway. I will also say that the colorway is polarizing. Somebody might pay a premium for the rare shade, but I don't know that it casts a wide net. This is not a color that I would think would appeal to everyone, the way other more, heritage colors would. So John, a lot to analyze when we look at this car, a lot to unpack. Nathan, who's got, he's an expert in the field of Porsches and air-cooled, and balls of stone. Nathan said he always runs his car as no reserve. So this car is running no reserve on BAT. It'll close in a couple days from now, John, and it will sell. The question, and it's the $64 million question, is what will it bring? So John, I serve it back to you. Rare shade, interesting build. Again, lots of money spent, but cosmetically, not to enhance the driving experience. The car has had on the Carfax like 6 or 7 owners. So somebody in this car's history spent the money to make it a driver, which is great. But I think that if it had less mods and a lot of the things that Porsche offered were on this car, in addition to the rare shade, we'd be looking at a $250,000 car and up, despite the 70,000 miles, 69,000 miles on the odometer. But I just wonder, JP, the mod versus how it was built, the rare shade, does this long, high fly ball? It's deep. It's all the way to the warning track, but it stays in the yard, and it's not actually a home run. And for me, I think that home run number is like around the $200,000 watermark. So JP, I serve it back to you. What did you notice immediately? What do you like about this particular C2S Coupe? And tell us a little bit more about Nathan, who you've known for a really long time. Nathan, by the way, some of the Nerd Herd would recognize him. He's been a guest of ours over the years. I think we've had Nathan on at least 3 or 4 times as we've done the show for the last 4 years. Nathan is one of our best returning guests, I should say, annually. So what do you say, JP? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about weird at the top of the episode. This car, to me, is just weird. And I know that everyone's going to be like, oh, it's paint sample. Oh, it looks so beautiful. This thing is so ugly to me. But I understand that that's me. I know that that's me, right? This has PCA written all over it with the I don't know what color you said green it was. It's Wimbledon green. It looked great with a Rolex with a Wimbledon face. Too much green a little green goes a long way. And the green wheels, what the hell was someone thinking? I just think that's hideous. But I know that some pleated pants, PCA, polo shirt wearing goofball is just going to cream their pleated shorts over this car. And the color, it is just, look, in this era, every Honda Accord was this color. Every car in the 90s was this kind of like weird teal green or something slightly one way or the other of it. But the C2S is one of the best looking cars of all time. I love the split grille. This car, I know it doesn't have all the little options that maybe we would have chosen, like you said, the limited slip and stuff like that and short shift, but it still is an absolutely spectacular car, even though it's so hideous. Awesome. I wouldn't care because this car is just beautiful regardless of how ugly the color is. You just get over it, right? And the wheels are easy enough to change to the correct color. Big question for Nathan. Nathan was the guy, FYI, for those of you who remember 993 Fest. That's where I met him. I was fortunate enough to have gone to the first one. We had a great time back in the day. I missed those runs in the Eastern Washington. Nathan's been in this scene for a very long time. And he really is he is a pioneer in this world, and he knows his ish. So anyone bidding on this car, if you like this car, know that you're getting it from a great, great seller.
Yeah, Nathan is an air-cooled guru. His knowledge is actually published on a lot of YouTube videos, discerning the minute differences year to year on SCs and mid-years and 3.2s. He collects 964s and 993s, and Nathan's knowledge is greater than JP and mine combined, and that's saying something. So it's pretty interesting. He's a good guy.
I think he's forgotten more than we know. Well, so I do have a question for you, Nathan, though. You had mentioned that the Carfax, I've got your comment up. The Carfax says that it was that the accident was a bump on the hood or on the bumper, and that it was redone at the auction or something minor. But one thing that I always look for when I'm looking at air-cooled Porsches, one of the first things I do when you pop the hood is to see if the option sticker is still there. If that, because every 993, 964, 911, they've all got that option sticker on here on the air-cooled cars, and I think the 996s too. This one doesn't. It does?
It does.
Is that just it? It's just so high up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Scroll down. There's a picture. There's a picture of it in the listing, and it's a highly optioned car, but just not a lot of the performance options. It's a lot of cosmetic.
There
options.
it is.
But
Okay.
It's
very high up on the bumper. Like usually it's more in the middle. So I'm glad that you noticed that, and I'm glad that it's there. So I guess Nathan could say that. Yeah. Is that the usual spot for it? There isn't like a specific spot. It's not like they put it exactly in the same spot on every Porsche. Sometimes they're crooked.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like some guy in Germany. So, it depends on how many, how much beer he had on the.
Yeah.
He's
so
like,
I actually think, JP, I think we're going to nerd out here, and I wish Nathan could chime in on this one. I believe, and Nathan might know better than me, I actually think it's some kid that's a lot boy at the port in New Jersey or in San Diego that gets the decals, and he takes one and he goes to the hood where some manager in middle management showed him where to put it under the hood, and some new kid, and he slapped it higher than all the other kids slap him. That's why they're crooked, and they're never in the same place. I think they're done by different people, and I don't think they're done at the factory. I actually think they're done when they come off the boat. They sticker the car, and then there's a mirror image of this sticker that most dealers during PPI will put, or what do they call it? I forget what they call it. When they prep the car for sale, they'll put the other sticker in the book. So you have a matching sticker in the books. So if this rinses off or whatever, you still have an option sticker. Some guys don't put them in the books, and then they get lost over time. But if your car is complete, you should have the sticker under the hood, and the same sticker on the first page of your warranty book or whatever will be your option sticker. That's how it's supposed to go, but it's very imperfect.
Nathan says that it's somebody at the dealer when they get the car in the
the dealer does it. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a lot punk.
Worse.
It's like some of them can't even reach.
Worse. Yeah.
Dirty Gringo says. Dirty Gringo says the village idiot that does it, but I guess that's true.
Exactly. Yeah. The kid who's anyway, never mind.
Anyways, okay, so that's good news. That means that the story that the bumper was just something happened to the bumper and they just did a quick respray on that holds up, which means this car, and looking at the pictures, he took the carpet off and everything, you can see there's no welds. There's no way that this car has had a big accident in the front, so it's looking good. All that said, what do we think this car is going to bring, Michael Deeb?
All right, JP, any other car in the union, if you take a car and you spend $4,000 in options on the car, $2,000 in parts and $2,000 in labor, you typically take the average value of that car and subtract $4,000. Porsche people are the most finicky in the world, but when you do the right options like Pfister exhaust and Bilstein coilovers, I actually think it doesn't hurt the value of the car, at least not that much. Maybe from the ultimate value, again, for some reason, I don't think this car is going to break 200. However, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if it does. So that's my disclaimer. John, according to Classic.com, the average selling price of a C2S with a manual is about $146,700. I looked for comps, and there are not many C2S manuals that have sold this year that have similar mileage. However, I found one that was a Vesuvio with similarly around 77,000 miles. Our Ocean Jade Metallic paint to sample C2S here with the sports seats has just 69,000 miles. The Vesuvio, though, has the cachet of limited production and a catchy name. The Vesuvio is almost its own brand if you're a diehard 993 geek like I wish I was. But I don't know that Vesuvio had the hardback seats. Technically, this Ocean Jade is going to be way rare because it's probably one of 2 or 3 made for the world in 1997. But there are miles. There is the blemish on the Carfax. It's not a great build, and it's got tons of mods. So I actually think the Vesuvio car winds up being a good comp, which is why I'm going to hitch my bid to the Vesuvio result, which was just about a month ago. JP, I think this car sells for $185,000 when it closes on Friday. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if it brings 200 or 205, but I just think finding two guys with nothing else to do on Black Friday fighting over an Ocean Jade car, man, it's such a polarizing color. And I want Nathan's client to get all the money Nathan can provide for it, but I'm hesitant to go over 200. So 185 is my bid. JP, where are you at?
You know, one thing I think we forgot to talk about, and I think Nathan would have brought up, I believe that this is a Rudy car. This car has been Rudified, Rudy Macias. He is a famous 993 collector. I can't believe you don't know Rudy. Rudy, unfortunately, we lost him a few years ago. I had the fortune of meeting him at 993 Fest, I think a couple of years in a row. But he had, or still has, maybe the family still has, like a warehouse full of 993s and 964s, and all of his cars are crazy colors like this. He doesn't have any basic color ones. In fact, our friend Kelly Smith, big friend of the show, what's
up, Kelly?
His blue, his Smurf blue, which I don't know if it's Mexico or Riviera, I always forget. A 993 he got from Rudy. It's been Rudified, and Rudy really liked to do all this stuff. He liked to add wheels and lower them, and if they didn't already have the color match seats, he would go and do all that kind of stuff. I'm with you. I don't think the mods hurt the value of the car at all if they're the right mods, those basic mods, because anyone buying one of these kind of knows that that's what they're going to do anyway. I think the only time that the mods are going to affect the value negatively on an air-cooled Porsche is if the car literally has delivery miles. Like, we're talking under 100 miles or something. But if the car has any kind of miles at all and has any chance of being driven, which a car like this probably will be, then those are the mods that you absolutely want. So, I'm going to go over you. I think the market is weird, but I also think it's optimistic, even though, hell, it could be World War III by tomorrow. But, we won't talk about that. So I'm going to go $193,000. I'm going to go 190. I'm sorry, 190. 930 $30. Yeah.
$93.
So, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
$190,993. Yeah. JP, I forgot to mention that our car is currently sitting at $150,000 by way of 12 bids. And again, it closes on Friday. If you're interested, folks, the car closes at 10:36 a.m. and that's going to be Pacific time on my computer. So mark your calendars if you want to watch this one close. If there are two people out there that just have to have a truly rare shade like Ocean Jade Metallic, this car could run. And again, it wouldn't be surprised. This car goes over 200,000 easy. But I just suspect that might just be too polarizing a color, and we shall see. We wish Nathan and his client the very best. And Nathan, pick any day you want to come on, and we will reserve the seat for you once your audio and video are cleared out. Thank you for jumping in with this car. So JP, anything to add on that one?
Yeah, now I know how to find out if Kelly is lurking. Just ask him a question about the color of his car. He came on and said it's blue turquoise, and his was a Rudy car. So anyways, there it is. All right, let's get to the next car. What do we got? We spent a lot of time on the first car. We still have a few more cars to go. Let's do it.
We did. All right, JP, we've got a 1973 Rolls-Royce Corniche Saloon. I went down to Monterey the other day to look at a couple of cars for a client that I may represent. A car he's not selling is a similar car to this, but it was a four-door, and I was just taken. It was like a 68 or 69, beautiful condition. Just reminds me of, being with my dad and his friends with cool cars. And I think my uncle used to drive, I had an uncle, a very eccentric uncle that would drive a Rolls Royce from time to time. And just kind of a neat old car. I feel like these cars have aged pretty well. It's a very pretty car to me. It's very opulent. It's, the whole poverty sucks posters of the 80s and that sort of thing. This just reminds me of like tweed and elbow patches and riding boots and all that nonsense and champagne and little tiny glasses. This car just kind of, I don't know, looking at that silver sedan turned me on. And when I saw this coupe of the similar vintage, I thought, geez, we never look at Rolls-Royce. This car, John, looks to be in excellent condition. On Bring a Trailer out of Phoenix, Arizona, showing 52,000 miles on a repaired odometer. These cars are powered by, here's some interesting useless trivia for you, JP. It is powered by a 6.75 liter V8 matched to a 3-speed automatic transmission. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bidnards are going to drop a little bit of useless trivia on you, and then please challenge me in the comments if you know better. But the basic architecture of this generation Rolls-Royce V8 is a trademark stolen complete replica of a Cadillac engine of the exact same CCs. Basically, Rolls-Royce ripped off Cadillac and they built a Cadillac motor and put Rolls-Royce, valve covers on it and threw it into the hood of their cars. And if you're, I guess, a Rolls-Royce head, that's probably a pretty well-known fact. But to me, as a Porsche and Alpha guy, I didn't know that. And that just made me snicker. I thought that's so funny. When you're Rolls-Royce to us are considered the greatest cars in the world, we don't look back on the Cadillacs of the 50s and 60s as young American kids and say they were the greatest cars in the world. But there was a time that they were. And it's hard to imagine that the upper crust of the people in the engineering at Rolls-Royce thought that they could get a better idea from Detroit than what they could create, borrowing from their neighbors at Jaguar, for instance, So JP, I don't know, that fact made me crack up. John, the car looks to be in beautiful condition. I love the colorway, the dark burgundy with the leather top and the black Connolly leather. The Spirit of Ecstasy is the name of the hood ornament, the Flying Lady that a lot of us would call. This car just ticks all the boxes. And I dug it. So thanks for letting me bring this car to the show. And anybody that knows more about Rolls-Royce, which is all of you, throw in some other useless trivia and let's learn something today. JP, any experience with this era of Rolls in your lifetime? Did you ever drive? Or I've probably ridden in a car like this, but I don't think I've ever driven one. Can you say more than that?
You grew up fancy. This car reminds you of your dad. This definitely does not remind me of my dad at all. Rolls-Royce was the last car that he ever would have owned. I did sell cars when I was a teenager for a very short amount of time at a dealership, and you learn the lesson. Never pre-qualify. You know that lesson where like somebody comes on the lot and you just, if you think they have a lot of money, chances are they don't. And if they look like they don't have any money, they probably do.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember a guy coming on the lot and no one wanting to talk to him. I was the green pea. I was the new guy. And all the sales peaks, were like, make JP go out and talk to this guy. So I went out and talked to the guy, and we went on a test drive in, I don't know, a Jeep or something like that. But he came back. He came back later. He left. He didn't buy anything, and everyone was like, you had to waste your time. Well, he came back later driving one of these. This was in 1990. So this was a somewhat contemporary car. That was a big deal. Somebody was like, his wife dropped him off in the Rolls so he could buy the Jeep. It was like, okay, learned that lesson. And he just bought the car cash. That, it was like, okay, this guy. Boom. Yeah. So that's my only experience with a Rolls Royce. I think it was the same one. I don't know. I don't know anything about Rolls Royce, but that's, they're beautiful. But I've just always been too scared of them, maintenance wise. Who the heck is going to fix this? What is it, like oil hydraulics to get the windows to go up and down, stuff like that? Mineral water and all kinds of weird, You
have to write a letter to the people at Buckley or whatever, see if they'll permit you to put the windows up, and it takes like 20 minutes to get them up,
God help you if anything breaks. All right, what's it going to bring? I just looked at how much it's at already. It's already at what, $42,000. Which is
42,000. JP has 2 days to close. It closes on Friday, like everything else we're covering tonight. JP, $42,000, and that is by way of 24 bids. So, John, the Classic.com says that the average selling price is around $50,000. It's like $49,800 or something. According to Haggerty, $42,000 is like excellent condition, and then Concourse is $60,000. But JP, this car is already at $42,000. It's got 2 days to go, and it's got a ton of bids. I actually think this car is going to bring Concourse money. So we have to look at it. It's a Series 1, of which was the longest generation. They built them for like 10 years or something, Series 1s or longer. They have convertibles, and then they have fixed head coupes, which this is a fixed head coupe. Then they have rubber bumpers, which I think are the American cars. And then they have just metal bumpers, which is either an option or it means they were an import car, or rest of the world cars were metal bumpers. So this is a fixed head coupe rubber bumper, and $60,000 is Concourse money. And I think this car is going to bring Concourse money because it's off to such a good start. And it does look to be in very nice condition, where it still looks like it's been lived in and not necessarily restored. which is, I think, where the great value is. And so I think this car is going to do well. So JP, 60 grand is my bid. Where do you dare to put yours?
I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to go 65. I think people are out there looking to spend some money. And the fact that it's at 42 already means it's only got to, I mean, it doesn't even have to make $20,000 more. That's what the hell is going on? The things are weird, man. They're weird. Yeah. This is a weird result. This is a weird show.
When I looked at classic.com, they have a graph. And all of the graphs above 50,000, every sale above 50,000 was a convertible. And the convertibles are worth more than the coupes. But this coupe, JP, is going to bring convertible money, and it's going to bring Concours money, and it's going to do really well. So there you go. That was fun. Thanks, JP.
All right. Let's get to another weird car. What do we got on the list?
All right, JP, in the spirit of Christmas shopping, and I know you're going to sell 2 cars before you buy your next one, I thought I would tempt you with this unliveried silver black 2004 Dodge Viper SRT-10 Convertible. Ladies and gentlemen, my partner is a closet redneck. Our car has 15,500 miles and a 6-speed manual to rip around in that V10. The car is basically unmodified. It's on Doug DeMuro's site. The problem, JP, is that it's stuck way up in Illinois in the dead of winter. I really do. I know we talked about it just a couple of cars ago, that you don't think that seasonality is as relevant today as it was before. I present my argument in the form of a Dodge Viper on 25-inch wide rear tires in Illinois in December, and tell me that you don't think that the hammer is going to be affected by the weather where this car is currently sitting. Otherwise, JP, I think that this car, these are $45,000, $50,000 cars, and I don't think this one's going to come anywhere close to that because of where it is and when it is at market. But otherwise, cool car, basically stock, fairly low miles, and a non-dorky colorway for, an animated dorky car to begin with. So I kind of dig this one. The chrome wheels miss me with that. I actually think this car would look good with some aftermarket wheels. I just don't like this wheel design at all. But man, John, how much fun would this be to drive on the Overton run in a Viper with an exhaust system and some meatballs? I could see you having a lot of fun with these if you ever dared to do so. I know you dig these cars, and that's why I picked it for you. So there you go, JP. Don't buy anybody a Christmas gift. Treat yourself to one of these. We will all be happy for you, and that's all that matters.
Well, okay, I guess that's what's happening. I'm going to go buy a Viper. Yeah, no, I do love the big American power. These are great, but I got to acquiesce. I think you're right as far as seasonality goes. This car could be the most affected. This thing may as well be a motorcycle, right? Especially in the Midwest. Like if you won this auction tomorrow, the next day or whatever, a lot of times you think, one of the great things about winning an auction on one of these sites is going and getting it. You get on an airplane, you fly to some other state, and you have a really fun road trip home. But good luck driving this thing out of Illinois. I mean, especially in November, or it's going to be December by the time this thing closes. So, you do not want to be stuck on the freeway if it snows with one of these. They're bad enough when the pavement is dry and warm and your tires are nice and heated up. These are very, very tail-happy, hard-to-control cars because they just have so much torque. I'm with you, Deeb. The wheels suck, but that's easy. That's the easiest thing to change. Wheels, coilover, a few other things, and you've just got supercar power and supercar performance, and without the stigma of the Corvette. Like, I know that these are it's still a Viper, so it's still got, it's an American muscle
gold
car,
chain,
but it does still have some sense of exotic-ness to it. And people do still think of these as, something special. Whereas you could be in a C8 Corvette and nobody even looks twice anymore. These still kind of get people excited about them. This car's not going to do well because of the seasonality. This car's not going to do well because it's on Cars and Bids. This is not the right car for Doug. And the assets for this ad are terrible. These are cell phone pictures in a bad car lot. This is just an absolute garbage listing. This may as well be on Facebook Marketplace. This car is DOA as far as I'm concerned. What do you think it's going to bring, if anything, Michael Deeb?
Yeah, JP, you and I are in lockstep on this one. Again, classic.com says that you can look at a Viper for around $55,700 our car, JP, closes again, like everything else. It closes on Friday, November 29th. Again, out of Elburn, Illinois, on a clean Illinois title, 15,000 miles. This thing is at 35,000 on 15 bids. I actually think it just got a bid, didn't it? Let me see. Did it just? Yeah, it literally just got a bid 1 minute ago because it was at 30,250. So
was that somewhere in the herd? Was somebody watching the show and go, "Oh, I gotta go buy that car"?
Who's car guy 18? You just took my bid. No, 35,000. And John, my bid was 36. It's at 35 now. So I will change my bid to 40 grand and say it has a chance. But at 36, because again, I'm looking at it at $30,000. At 36, I thought it was going to hammer for 36 and FTS. Now it's at 35. If it gets into the 40s, and this guy's clearly desperate because he's listing it during Thanksgiving, it may sell if it hits 40. So I'm changing my bid to $40,000 because it literally just got a bid while we were reviewing it. What a crazy one. And Car Guy 18 sounds familiar. I swear, JP, we know this person. I'm telling you. But anyway, John, where are you at? 40 grand to you. At 40, it might sell, but at 35 or 36, if it doesn't get another bid, but they're still looking at it. So where are you at, John?
Yeah, I think this car will probably, these are really soft. These, I mean, just in general, they're not moving. This is not a era that, you know, the young timers haven't really glommed onto these yet, even though it's still early aughts kind of car. And a lot of those early aughts cars are starting to come up. This car just isn't being recognized in that way. So yeah, I'm going to say 43 grand and say it sells. I think you're right. I think the guy does know that, he's going to have to be aggressive if he wants to get rid of it this time. And I think the reason why he's on Cars and Bids is because he probably tried to list it on BAT and they told him, you're going to have to wait a month. So, that leads me to think that he really wants to sell it.
I don't know that I hate this car on Cars and Bids. I think it's going to be fine here. Doug's weird. Vipers are weird. I think some Vipers have sold here. I don't have a problem with it here. So as much as you do, I think you were saying that you thought it was really the wrong car for the platform. I don't know that I totally agree with that. But anyway, that's my last counter argument to the Viper.
Fair enough. All right, guys. Well, it is Thanksgiving. Now we're going to get out of here. It's Thanksgiving. We got to go. We started late, so we're going to get out of here. Thanks so much for everyone hanging out. Check out, if you want a hat, if you want a Bid Nerds hat, I'm going to put up some deals on the Instagram page. So at Bid Nerds, I'm going to put a bunch of stuff on there tomorrow. And we'll do our price, Black JP? Friday. Say $29.99. We'll throw in shipping. Woo! Maybe we'll do a BOGO or something like that Friday. But I will put some stuff up for sale, and we'll try to get some stuff out for you guys so you guys can all get it before Christmas if you want to buy each other Christmas presents. We are very thankful for the Nerd Herd and for all of you guys joining us every Sunday and Wednesday night at 6:30. Thanks to Nathan for trying to get on the show tonight. We'll get him on the new show. And
a shout out to Rochelle. The Nerd Herd never gets to see her or interact with her or Patootie. We actually get to see Patootie from time to time. She cameos, but a big shout of gratitude to Rochelle for holding it together for John and for us and for the show and for all of you. Without Rochelle, either the show wouldn't be possible or the show would be possible and JP would just be completely burnt out, because if he had to do it all himself. So I just want to give an acknowledgement and a big thanks and a big kiss to Rochelle and say happy Thanksgiving to everybody in the Polnik studios and Rami too, who is kind of always behind the scenes a little bit too.
That's true. Well, if she watched the show, she would say thank you. All right, guys, we will see you. It's time. I'm looking at my Howard Smith Anthony AVR watch. That's his watch. Okay, all right, here we go. We're gonna take you out with Godden commercial. See you guys Sunday night. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden, this guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche.